Landlords are being forced out of Spokane, Washington, and here's what you need to know about it. Hey there, I'm Haydn Halsted, your local real estate resource here in Spokane, Washington, and there are a lot of changes going on in the landlord-tenant worlds, and whether you are looking to own property and potentially rent it out in the future, or you are a tenant watching this video, there's a big vote coming up on Monday, right after this video is recorded. April 29th is the vote, and so I just wanted to make this video more as a PSA. If you feel like these topics matter, whether you're on one side or the other, you should be there, have your voice heard before the city council puts these to vote. So there are two things that are being proposed at the city council. The first is an increase in the amount of time a landlord has to give a tenant if they are planning on raising their rent. So currently in the state of Washington, you have to give a 60-day notice of rent increase, and the Spokane City Council is looking to override this. If the landlord is going to increase rent less than 3%, then they must give a 4-month notice. So if the tenant is paying $1,000 in rent and they want to increase it by $25 a month, the tenant must be made aware 4 months in advance. Now, if the landlord intends on increasing rent by 3% or more, then the tenant needs to be given a 6-month notice. So this ordinance was introduced by City Council member Paul Dillon and is supported by Zach Zapone and Lily Navarrete. Their claim is that housing is a human right and needs to be protected, and that tenants need more than 60-day notice to anticipate or budget for these rent increases. And Terry Anderson, who is a part of a tenant advocacy group, Tenants Union of Washington State, said the 60 days is not enough time when tenants receive huge rent increases. Tenants will move when they can't afford the rent increase, even when there's nowhere to move to, saying that they will move to the streets or something like that. I don't want to give too much of my personal opinion on this, but the Spokane Realtors also made note that this ordinance provides stricter language for landlord retaliation, saying that if they don't give you the 6-month notice, you can immediately sue your landlord, and there's a potential immediate fine of $500 for the landlord. So rents in Spokane have increased faster than the state of Washington as a whole. They've increased 74% between 2013 and 2023, when the state of Washington is 66% between the same time period. And of course, housing of all types has increased at a higher rate of inflation than any other type of inflation. But as I've said many times on this channel, our core issue here in Spokane is underbuilding and having poor zoning regulations, which doesn't allow for us to have enough housing to create enough competition. And so what's going to happen is that you're going to see landlords just add more baked in fees when it's time to sign up a new tenant, or more administrative fees, things like that, that are basically going to just cover their costs and potential risk of not being able to increase the rent. My biggest thing is that an eviction takes a while here in the Spokane area, in the state of Washington specifically. I heard from a couple lawyers recently that the average in the city of Spokane is about 3 months. In Seattle, it's 6 to 9 months. And so if you're looking at serving a tenant a 4 or 6 month rent increase, then that upsets the tenant and they decide not to pay. Well, then now you have to go through the eviction process, and it's going to take you that whole period of time of notice anyway to try and evict them at that point. And so I think that these are the biggest issues, is that you're going to be driving landlords out of property ownership because they just don't want to deal with these regulations, which is then going to sell off single family homes. And when those homes have been taken off the rental market, the market isn't so in demand right now that it is going to go to a homeowner and will likely not enter the rental market again for many, many years to come. So now you're forcing people out of single family rentals into all multifamily rentals, which are then owned by larger corporations and things like that. And it's making it harder for people that just own a few rental properties like myself to justify owning them because the risk is too high for the reward. Now, in other news, Jonathan Bingle, council member here in Spokane, has introduced a measure called the unlawful use of vacant residential properties, aka squatting. And this has become an issue all over the place, I feel like. But this measure would strengthen local laws to protect property owners and lawful residents from the adverse effects of squatting, and to ensure a speedy process for restoration of such property to the rightful owners or occupiers. So we've heard a lot of horror stories come out of Seattle with squatters breaking into homes, things like that, and receiving some mail, and now they become tenants. And now they have to go through a 6 to 9 month eviction process for somebody that didn't even rent the home at any given time. And from in the Spokane area, I know the biggest issue every once in a while is that vacant listing sitting on the market. I heard a story just last week where there was a vacant listing sitting on the market. Somebody broke into it and was moving all of their stuff into the house. Luckily, they were able to show up when the person was not there, change all the locks, board it up, and move all of their stuff out of there. And so this law, I think, is a good thing, because it's one thing to have landlord tenant rights. It's another to just have squatters rights and be able to break into somebody's home and claim it as your own. So being able to protect your property is definitely a very important thing. So if you have an opinion on both of these or one of these items, whether you're on one side or the other, again, they are voting on this on April 29th, Monday evening at Spokane City Hall. I'd love to see you down there. I plan on attending myself. And so this was a little bit of a different video, but if you are new to the channel or new to the Spokane area, I'm Haydn Halsted, your local Spokane real estate resource. I would love to help you decide if Spokane is the right place for you. So you can call, text, email me anytime, or you can use the link down below in the description to schedule a meeting on my calendar at a time that's convenient for you. We have helped dozens of people just this year relocate to Spokane, and we'd love to help you do the same thing. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.